Up next, the story of one of the biggest number one soundtrack hits of the 80s. It was a duet between two distinctive voices. It wasn't really working until the legendary producer decided to have the male and the female swap their singing parts, which brought a completely different sound. Yeah, the high and the low part, they swapped them. It's pretty cool. And the song really started to explode. Then it became a hit again decades later when it was used in a commercial. Up next, the singer and the producer tell us the story of this number one hit. Coming up next. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, take a break from the craziness of this life, of this world right now, and become a part of our music community by subscribing for our daily content. Hit the red button, click the bell. Also, even more content is on our Patreon. And then we have our Vintage Years collection below. I'm wearing 1981 right there. You can get that below in the description. So it's time for another edition of our series, Dose. This is where we break down the greatest duets of the rock era. We haven't done one of these in a while. This one features two major voices of the rock era. One that fractured the conventional in the 60s, and another one is really one of the most underappreciated rock voices in music, and it was a mainstay on radio in the 80s. The evolution of a band, I mean, it's an interesting thing to watch, right? You know, if you watch the Beatles evolve, they started as rock pop, you know, with sing-along ditties. I Want to Hold Your Hand. I wanna hold your hand. From there, the Fab Four began experimenting in ways never before seen. And by the time Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band came out, just a few years later, that early pop sound, they were a really different band. It was 20 years ago today. Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. And with Jefferson Airplane, they evolved in a different way. Started off as pioneers of psychedelic rock, defining the San Francisco sound. I mean, they headlined the Monterey Pop Festival in '67, and then they scorched the Woodstock stage in '69 with the rocker Somebody to Love and the mind-altering White Rabbit. The band changed from Jefferson Airplane to Jefferson Starship in 1974 as the original group effectively broke into two units. There was Jefferson Airplane and Hot Tuna. Grace Slick was, of course, the constant of both Jefferson groups, but in 1979, Jefferson Starship would release the gold-selling Freedom at Point Zero, which would be the first album without Grace Slick and Marty Balin. It did include newcomer Mickey Thomas, though, belting out the vocals on their hit Jane, which we've covered before on this channel. If you want to check it out, you can search it, or maybe we'll link to it. Grace Slick came back for the next album, Modern Times, after a 3-year absence, and she and Mickey Thomas would lead the band through the 80s with several number one hits as they lost the Jefferson moniker altogether to become just Starship. In case you're not keeping score at home, that's 3 name changes in 20 years, and they went from psychedelia to rock to pop as they would hit number one in '85 and in '86 with the synth-driven pop of We Built the City. And they also had the ballad Sarah. In late '86, they recorded the Diane Warren Albert Hammond penned theme song, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, for the film Mannequin. That starred Andrew McCarthy and Kim Cattrall. This is one of those 80s movies that we've all seen many times and we'll never admit that we have. Actually, I was flipping through the channels about a month ago, and this thing was on, and I have to admit, I did partake. It's an 80s cheese fest in the best possible way. Always loved Andrew McCarthy as an actor, and the character of Hollywood as a true scene stealer in the movie. I mean, this song just put the cherry on top of the cheese whiz.
Just to keep an eye on him for me.
So going back to 1987, my younger brother and I, we shared a room. We had bunk beds. He was on the bottom. I was on the top bunk. I used to listen to my Walkman at night, when I was up top, and my brother would get to hear the remnants of that music since he didn't have a Walkman. I was into Van Halen and Rat and Def Leppard and Europe and Ozzy and all that stuff, but I still love the rock and pop from Casey Kasem's American Top 40. This is one that I was afraid to admit that I loved. I secretly liked. It took me decades to figure out that there's really no such thing as a guilty pleasure. We like what we like. Actually, what do you think? Do you believe in guilty pleasures? Tell us in the comments below. Let's have a discussion. I remember recording it off the radio with my stylish Memorex tapes. You know, remember those have the cool design? I was playing it really low so that my brother couldn't hear. But I couldn't help it. The vocals just got to me, and I was starting to pump my fists in the air, you know, and lip sync to it. And I got a little lost in the song. Before I knew it, my brother had climbed up the ladder, my bunk bed, and he was staring at me with this huge grin. And he scared the crap out of me, right? I was like, I rose up, I hit my head on the ceiling, and I actually fell off the top bunk onto the floor. And I had pain all over my back as I had landed right on top of several of my brother's Transformers and his He-Man figures. And he was laughing his head off. You love girly music. Remember, this was the 80s, and my brother was like 7 or 8, so you gotta understand that. I was trying to play it off. I said, no, it's Van Halen. And he said, I heard you singing the words. I guess I got so lost in it that I was actually singing the song. So say what you will about this one, but I'm pretty sure all of us have sung this with the windows rolled up and we thought that nobody else was listening. It's just one of those songs. I mean, it has stood the test of time as far as popularity goes, as far as plays goes. Decades later, it went back into the charts. It was used in a commercial. It's been used in several movies and TV shows, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Simpsons, The Skeleton Twins, just to name a few. Diane Warren has written 9 #1 songs, including I Don't Want to Miss a Thing for Aerosmith, probably everybody's least favorite Aerosmith song, if I had to guess. Let me know in the comments, I'm guessing. And the co-writer of the song, Albert Hammond, co-wrote many major songs, including The Air That I Breathe with Mike Hazelwood, of course made famous by the Hollies. Nothing's gonna stop us now. The duet between Grace and Mickey, I mean, 2 of the greatest voices of the rock era, who effectively took it to #1 on both sides of the Atlantic, as well as Canada and Ireland and the top 5 most everywhere else. Is a massive hit. Actually, in a radio interview that I heard, co-writer Albert Hammond said that the idea for this song came from his impending marriage to his living girlfriend of 7 years. This was after his divorce from his previous wife was finally finalized. He had said to Diane Warren, it's almost like they've stopped me from marrying this woman for 7 years and they haven't succeeded. They're not going to stop me from doing it. Produced by legend Narada Michael Walden, who, of course, responsible for many hits for Aretha Franklin, including her big comeback, Freeway of Love. And also Whitney Houston's #1 hits, How Will I Know, When I Want to Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me. And most notably, he just helped produce Journey's new album, Freedom, which hit #1 recently. Now, as we go into this mini documentary on this song, I want to recognize our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the only glasses for me. I have like 15 pairs of these things, and I'd never go back. Design your own pair at Zenni.com. You choose the style, the color, the shape. You can put something on the side, on the inside, whatever you want. Here's Mickey and Narada with the story. Nothing's gonna stop us now.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Okay. So after Knee Deep in the Hoopla, we were kind of constantly touring there for a couple of years, very busy. And we got offered this song to do for a movie. And I thought, well, that might be kind of cool because we could just do a single and it'll kind of fill in the gaps in between albums because we weren't really ready to go into the studio to start the whole No Protection album. As a matter of fact, we weren't ready to do it when we started doing it. But so I thought, something about the song, I said, it's kind of cool, it's kind of got a little bit of an R&B flavor, and could be a great vehicle for Grace and me, a duet, trade-off thing. But I said, I think it's only going to work if there's got to be one guy that can produce this single. And the record company said, who's that? I said, Narada Michael Walden. Because I knew he was in the Bay Area, You know, he was in Marin County.
Great
He
Whitney
was-
Houston.
Just finished Whitney and Aretha. And he was really hot.
Oh, yeah.
time. So I said, he's got to do it. And they said, well, this may not be up his alley or his taste, you know. I said, well, let's run it by him. So we ran it by him, and he said, yeah, I like it. I'll do it. He was in. He was, I'm all in. So now, again, we're in the middle of a tour. So he wanted to go ahead and get started on getting the track ready for us when we got home, because he's a great drummer, you know.
He played drums on it.
Yeah, he did play drums on it. I mean, he played drums with, you know, the Mahavishnu Orchestra and Jeff Beck and all these great people.
Tell me what you remember about Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now.
Done in this room here.
Yeah.
Again, the same kind of people that played on both those records. And the thing I loved the most was electronic drums, where I could dial in the sounds I wanted, but it's all played on pads. So I'm able to get the sound that I want, exactly, big, new at that time. All that was new sounding.
Oh, yeah.
See what I'm saying? Big, monstrous. That's the magic. You know what I'm saying to you?
Oh my
You know what I'm
gosh.
saying to you?
You know what I'm saying?
Professor of rock and roll. Professor
ever.
of rock and roll. Shoot.
So anyway, I said, well, we got to be sure the key is right. So now we're on a bus tour, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, no cell phones, kids. No laptops, no iPads, you know. 1987 here.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to talk to somebody and you're riding, you know, rolling down the highway on a bus, you had to have a specific time in mind, pull over, find a phone booth, and call them. Yeah.
Record
So that's what we did. I said, okay, 3:00 next Thursday, we're going to pull over in the tour bus. I'll get on the payphone, I'll call you, and we'll figure out the key over the phone.
It's just crazy to think of it now, but
yeah.
it really was that way.
So we did. So I called him. Hey, how you doing? Okay, you ready to do this? Yeah. So he's got the keyboard on the other end of the phone. I'm singing a few lines, and he goes, all right, yeah, okay. Is that okay? Is that too high? Maybe down a half step, you know. And so we figured out the key over the phone.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And then, so then when we got home, like the following week, you know, he kind of had the bed ready, you know, the basic track ready. And then we went in and did a few more overdubs. You know, Craig played a solo. We did all the background vocals. Grace and I did our vocals.
But I had put it together where I wanted Grace to sing Mickey's low part, and I had it backwards at first. I had Grace doing the other, how do I say it? Grace was doing the low part, and Mickey was doing the high. But when I got Grace Inns doing the low part, it wasn't resonating in her voice. So I made an executive decision. I said, switch it. Grace, do Mickey's verse. And when she did that, it came to life. It came to life. It was down there, it was like, whoa. They had to have Mick come back in and then do her part of the verse.
Is what I'm gonna do. Let 'em say we're crazy.
I'm so happy that I had the confidence to do that. Grace Slick is no joke, bro.
Oh.
She's something else, man. You know what I mean? That's the girl that put that sound out in the 60s, and she's lovely.
Go chasing rabbits, and you know.
But you know, you have to really like find her voice. Where does she resonate? And then
Because Mickey Thomas, I mean, that guy's got some pipes.
big, massive, massive. One of the greatest singers ever.
Well, you knocked it out of the park
Yeah.
vocally with that song.
Hold you forever, forever and ever.
And also, that was Diane Warren's first #1 hit.
It sure was. And I always remind her of that too. Because Diane Warren, for those of you who may or may not know, is probably the most prolific and successful writer in LA over the last 30 years.
No question. She's
#1s with,
so many #1s. How Do I Live?
How do I live without you?
Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
'Cause I miss you, baby, and I don't wanna miss a thing.
Do you believe
Yeah, oh
in
yeah.
love?
Yeah.
I can feel something inside me say.
You know, I mean, literally, I'm just guessing here because I don't know, but I bet that Diane has had at least 20 #1 singles,
Yeah.
not just hits, but #1 singles
Yep.
with all different artists.
From the 80s to the 90s to 2000s, all over the place. And you know, she put together this great song, but Mannequin, the video was really huge because it was you and Grace, and Hollywood was in the video. Because as a kid, I remember that movie, and Hollywood, that was the first time that you saw something like that in a movie.
Where
And,
the actors came and were in the video.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Tell me about putting that together. Were you involved in the treatment?
A little bit. The guy who directed the movie came down and directed the video. So, you know, he kind of had a pretty definite vision in mind.
Oh, of course.
But it was an interesting concept of getting, you know, 2 or 3 of the actors from the movie to come down and then create different scenes for the video that weren't in the movie.
You guys got to kind of play the parts of the actors from the movie in the video.
Did, yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I got to pretend I was riding a motorcycle. Andrew McCarthy's bike. Really just kind of a mirror image of the movie. And although, you know, the movie has definitely withstood the test of time.
It has.
It's been very popular.
As kids, we loved the movie too. And so we'd see the video and it kind of connected, you know, that piece of music. That's a song also that this is coming back. Like you said, when you create a record, you're trying to create something that 100 years from now, 200 years from now. American Idol, they cover it sometimes on that. That's kind of introducing it to a new generation. But also, it was used on a commercial. It went back into the charts.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's cool.
Went back into the charts. I mean, just incredible.
Yeah.
Really cool.
You know, and I just saw Diane last when we went to the premiere of the Skeleton Twins, and I saw Diane there. First time I'd seen her in a long, long time, and it was really. I don't know. Have you seen the Skeleton Twins?
I have. Yeah, that's my favorite scene from the movie.
It's a good movie, but I think it didn't do better because people don't really want to necessarily accept Kristen Wiig and Bill
Hader
in those slightly more serious roles. You know,
right?
Because it's a pretty serious film.
It is.
And I think that the whole "Nothing's Going to Stop Us Now" bit in the movie was just kind of like 3 minutes of comic relief from the sort of heavy tension of the rest of the movie. but that was a real kick for me to see the two of them lip syncing almost the whole song in the film, you know. And I got to talk to both of them about it at the premiere, and it was fun.
Well, it hit social media, man. I mean, that's a part of the movie that everybody shared. It's on YouTube and everything, and that's how I saw it.
Yeah.
And that's what made me want to see the movie, because they're like, oh man, that's awesome. Again, our generation, my generation, we remember that song like the back of our head.
I think that a lot of the criticism that Jefferson Starship, and then of course even more so later with Starship, was because of the history of the band. Because it was like the stakes were different for Jefferson Starship, like held to a higher standard because of the association with the Jefferson Airplane in the 60s and Woodstock and the whole cultural revolution that was taking place, as well as a musical revolution. So it was almost impossible for Jefferson Starship to do anything without, oh, they're selling out. We're just trying to evolve.
They say the same things, interestingly enough, about a lot of the pop culture in the 80s. The movies, too. All those big blockbusters like Ghostbusters and Beverly Hills Cop, they've sold out. Even Scorsese or Spielberg, oh, these guys used to do this and now they're doing, and it's like, come on. It's just a different flavor.
I don't see any problem with liking, Lou Reed and Iggy Pop and
no,
and liking Winds of Change as well, you know, because I like them, you know.
The same with me.
like
It's
all
like
kinds
I
of
respect Toto and the Clash in the same breath, man.
Should I stay or should I go?
Throughout the day is that you like different kinds of things. You can't tell me that when Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now came on the radio for the coach of Montreal when he showed it to his team and they beat the Kings in the finals.
Yeah.
That's what music does.
Well, it can be inspirational. And Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now is an inspirational song on a lot of levels, whether it's romance or whether it's sporting event, whatever you want to take it to. It's just a natural evolution, I think. I mean, you know, we couldn't be, we couldn't just keep the standards that everybody else when I say everybody else, I shouldn't say everybody. I should say the critics,
right.
You know, wanted for the band.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about this #1 duet from Starship below. What are your memories of the song and the movie? Do you believe in guilty pleasures? Let's have a fun discussion about that in the comments below. If you like our content, we do invite you to be a part of our community by subscribing. Hit the red button. You can also become a Patreon or a patron in Patreon to unlock even more content, help us keep this a daily channel. and check out our Vintage Years collection if you dare. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.